Hi, I'm Ted Eveleth. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 30 years of business experience growing startup companies. As CEO of Halomine, I'm excited to talk to you about our first product, Halo Film. It's a companion product to chlorinated disinfectants that extends their useful life and will change the way that we think about disinfecting. To prove my point, let me ask you, would you be satisfied if your sunscreen only provided 15 minutes worth of protection? How about your deodorant? Probably not. And why are we satisfied that our disinfectants that are meant to protect us from the transmission of deadly pathogens only provide 15 minutes worth of protection? That's right. 15 minutes after the gentleman on the left passed through, the active ingredient, the disinfectant that they're spraying on, will have either evaporated or decayed, leaving those surfaces completely unprotected for the next person that walks through. What Halofilm essentially does is take the same level of chlorine that you'd find in a pool and put it onto surfaces for as long as 30 days, providing continuous protection in a safe and effective manner. So Halofilm can change the way we think about disinfecting and the way that we protect ourselves and our food. And food safety is a critical issue. As many as 1 in 6 people have a foodborne illness every year, and 3,000 people die. And on average, about 200 pathogen-related recalls, each one costing the manufacturer about $10 million. The pathogens are household names at this point: Salmonella, E. coli, Listeria. But those aren't the only pathogens that are wreaking havoc in the food chain. Mold is a significant issue. We lose as much as 10% of our agricultural produce to mold, and gray mold in particular causes tens of billions of dollars in losses each year. Now, on a side note, there's also a lot of chemical use in the food chain, and by extending the useful life of some of it, we expect to be able to reduce the overall chemical use. Now, to address these problems and take advantage of this opportunity, we've assembled an excellent team. I've raised tens of millions of dollars in angel grant and venture funding. Dr. Chow invented Halofilm while doing his postdoc at Cornell after he got his PhD from Auburn University. And Dr. Birch has experience in the antimicrobial startup space, as well as 20 years in business development. We count among our advisors Tom Britannic, who's a former chief marketing officer of the Clorox Company, and Ann O'Hara, who has global manufacturing experience at a variety of companies. We've licensed technology from Cornell University and Auburn University. We have 3 microbiologists and 3 chemists on staff at Cornell's Business and Technology Park in Ithaca, New York. Now, our mission is to create products that provide long-lasting continuous protection against pathogen. And they all start with chlorine. Chlorine is an excellent broad-spectrum biocide that we use in our drinking water, in our pools, in our laundries, in our cleaners and disinfectants. Now, chlorine is one of the few biocides that's approved for use in organic food settings, according to the USDA's National Organic Program. So what Halofilm is doing is taking something that's already being used and making it better. And it does that by starting with a liquid in a bottle that you spray onto a surface. You let it dry, and it leaves behind a thin, transparent film. That film sticks both to the surface and to chlorine. Now, the chlorine can come from any of the store-bought brands you see on the right, but the chlorine and the film are hard to wipe off the surface. However, when a pathogen lands on the surface, the chlorine will dissipate into the pathogen, killing it. And you can replace a lost chlorine with another application of chlorinated disinfectant, and you can maintain the integrity of the film by reapplying Halofilm as infrequently as monthly. Although at the moment, we suggest consuming 1 bottle of Halofilm as you consume 7 bottles of chlorinated disinfectant. We intend to sell Halofilm in 8-ounce, 32-ounce, and 1-gallon containers. We expect to sell the 32-ounce container for about $17.50, providing a 70% gross margin. Now, one of the coolest things about Halofilm is that while it kills pathogens you can't see, it provides protection that you can see. Using the same test strip that you use to test for chlorine in a pool, you can now test for chlorine on a surface. As an example, we took a door. On one handle, we sprayed Halofilm. On both, we sprayed a chlorinated disinfectant. 24 hours later, when you rub the test strips on the door handles, one of them turns blue, the one protected by Halofilm. And you can see even 5 days later, Halofilm is still providing protection to that door handle. Now, again, this is the same level of chlorine as you'd find in a pool. So we believe that using Halofilm on a surface is as safe as going swimming. The film itself is completely non-toxic. The chlorine and the film don't migrate, which makes them safe for food contact surfaces. We believe we have the same safety profile as mouthwash and toothpaste, which also kill pathogens. And Halofilm does kill pathogens. Our testing shows that we can kill gram-negative and gram-positive bacteria in less than 10 minutes. Outside third-party GLP testing shows that we can deter mold for as long as 30 days. And we're developing our data set against viruses with the help from an NSF Phase 1 award. Now, Halofilm is one of only 5 products to have ever passed the residual self-sanitizer test to provide claims for extended protection. But we're the only one of those 5 that can be used in an organic food setting, and we're the only one that is not easily rinsed off. So Halofilm is safe, Halofilm is effective, and Halofilm can be used on almost any surface, starting with the green plastic bins that you see at harvest, to the wood in cold storage, to the soft rollers, the rubber and silicone that you see in food processing, to the hard surfaces, mainly stainless steel, that you see in food processing and food prep. Halofilm also works on ceramic, glass, and even cloth. So there are an enormous number of different potential applications, almost as many as there are potential end users. We're targeting the 33,000 processing facilities and the 600,000 food prep sites in the US. I listed 3 large customers here, potential customers that have contacted us recently. But our sales focus is on service providers so that we can have one customer who reaches hundreds of end users. For example, Earth Bio does contract cleaning for the kitchens for McDonald's and Chipotle franchisees. Pace International is the world leader in post-harvest food safety. And PSSI provides contract cleaning services and sanitation for food processors. And we're also talking to distributors and partners to accelerate the commercialization of Halofilm. And we've talked to a number of potential customers in New York State. We've gotten positive feedback from all of them. In addition to those customers, we're looking at 3 co-packing sites so that we can make the product right here in upstate New York. We plan to do some trials with some of these customers at the beginning part of next year, which fits our timeline nicely. We intend to do a regional rollout in the first half of next year. But I should say that since the last Grow New York, we've made incredible progress. So we've raised more than $1.5 million in grant funds. We've raised over $500,000 from investors. We've grown employment from 2 to 9, and we've expanded our value proposition in the food chain. Originally, we'd focused on processing, but with the mold data, we've been able to expand in the harvest setting. And because of the pandemic, we're also focusing on food worker safety, from the porta potties in the field to the cramped spaces of a ready-to-eat food processing plant to socially distant dining. Now, we intend to finish this year with having product certification. We should have 1,000 bottles to start our regional rollout. We need to register with 11 states to get approval to sell in those states before we do our national rollout. But we're not just focused on food. We do have a $600,000 USDA Phase 2, but we also have an NSF Phase 1 focused on professional settings, mass transit, schools, cruise ships, and more. And we have an NIH Phase 1 focused on healthcare settings, mainly hospitals and nursing homes, to reduce hospital-acquired infections. That market will take a little longer to develop because of the need for a bigger data set. And we have some opportunities with consumers in the basement and bath. Now, with the $1 million prize from Grow New York, we expect in 2024 that we can reach 100 people in employment. We have more than $30 million in revenue, again at a 70% gross margin, so a $12 million EBITDA. And we would make 6 immediate hires, including a vice president of sales and marketing and a vice president of manufacturing. And we would hope to add to that about 35 indirect jobs at a co-packing partner. So we'd love to partner with Grow New York to increase our food safety, reduce agricultural loss, and reduce chemical use, and create a world where our disinfectants last longer than our deodorants. Thank you.
Excellent job, Halomine. Now over to 10 minutes of Q&A with our judges. Pravina has our first question.
What's changed since last year? I see, we saw you last year. You did a great job. You went over it, but quickly, what's changed? What do you think is the biggest dynamic change that's happened?
Oh my goodness. Well, so there's the pandemic, of course. That was unexpected marketing coup on our part. And I think it drove a lot of interest in the grant funding that we'd applied to, and it made it easier for us to raise money. So I think that heightened the awareness for everybody about the importance of fighting pathogens pretty much everywhere. So I would say we really were focused almost exclusively on food at the beginning, but our plans have substantially expanded since then.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to another judge. See if it better.
Yeah. Let's give Zoe a shot here. Jump on in there, Zoe.
Hey Ted, how are you?
Doing all right.
Great. Thank you for coming back to the competition. I am a new judge this year, so this is the first time I've seen the business. And I do come from the world of consumer packaged goods, although food is very different than, industrial strength cleaners. I am a consumer of industrial strength cleaners. So my question for you is, is there really a need? I mean, I think about our plant at Chobani in upstate New York. Do you really think there's a need for your product that provides a value add in a way that folks working in industrial sort of operating facilities would be excited about enough to switch over to Halomine as opposed to using whatever cleaning solution they use now?
So there's less of a switchover than an addition to. And we've talked to a number of different food processors, gone into ready-to-eat food processing. Got a call recently from a technology finder that was working for a milk processing company who made equipment that was hard to clean. And so they were looking for a better way to keep that equipment clean as it processed milk. So we've run across a number of different possibilities. The food safety is a constant problem in any processing plant. Even from post-harvest at the beginning, just bringing in the harvest to actually making it into something that's ready to eat. So we've gotten a lot of draw. The problem is it's hard for me to say this is the one thing, because if you're making meatballs versus if you're making soup, there are different needs. But we haven't run across anybody that didn't have some sort of need to improve their food safety or something that they were worried about.
Great. Thank you very much, Zoe. Andrew Rose, do you have a question for Halomine?
I do. Hi, Ted. Good seeing you again. Congratulations coming back. I love reviewing your deck and seeing the progress you've made since last year. That's phenomenal. And I guess more as from a personal standpoint, I would love to see this on a retail consumer level. I know we talked about commercial applications, and I'm just curious what sort of the secondary, tertiary plans are about rolling this out for retail, if that is in the stars, and then also what kind of additional product certifications are needed to achieve that, and can you scale to meet that customer demand, which would be out there, as I'm sure you're aware.
All right, there was a lot of pieces to that question. So let me sort of go backwards. We do have a scale-up plan. Well, we will probably at the beginning of next year, we will be able to scale very rapidly to meet whatever demand that there is. Certifications, there are no extra certifications that we need to sell into a food processing plant versus selling to consumers. So we should be set once we get those state level approvals. And so how much emphasis to put on consumer packaged goods rather than the industrial side is a constant conversation that we have in management. We have considered doing a Kickstarter to start and test the waters on consumer packaged goods. If you're thinking about getting into stores and do retail distribution, that will probably come later just because that's hard for any startup to accomplish. So we'll probably start online. Once we can get approval from all the states and we can sell throughout the US, we can get listed on Amazon fulfillment and just sell through Amazon initially. We'll probably almost by default add that on anyway. Whether we put a lot of effort into the promotion on the consumer side or not is a different question.
Very good.
Cool. Thanks very much. Laura Peterson, you're up.
Hi, Ted. I remember you from last year, and actually after COVID started, I thought about this product and wondered if that could be a useful addition. I'm a farmer. We have a packing line. And so I have two questions. Is chlorine the only disinfectant that this will work with?
So the chemistry allows us to work with chlorine, bromine, and iodine, but I don't think those are terribly regularly used. So chlorine is the most used chemical. Now,
Right.
Once it's on a surface, you could use some other chemical. You can use hydrogen peroxide, peracetic acid, to do other types of activities. It won't hurt the film, but it won't charge it. And so eventually you just need to use chlorine at some point, but you can go and use whatever you're currently using right now in addition.
Okay, because we're organic, and I know some of the organic certifiers do have problems with chlorine, and we've used some other materials on our packing lines. My other question is, how would you see this working in a packing line that needs to be cleaned every day? Does it need to be sprayed on separately? Could it be mixed with whatever else is being sprayed on, say the chlorine or whatever? Or would you, since you'd have to clean off the dirt that accumulates over the course of the day of packing, how do you envision it working in a situation like that?
So our expectation is that probably once a week, you'd want to spray this onto your packing line. That if you occasionally use chlorine after that, that should probably be sufficient. We are more robust against there's sort of dirt and soil. So the dirt, which is sort of a large particle, macroscopic particle, is really not a big problem. It's when it gets into sort of the sort of wet mud that you can consume some of the chlorine. But we're actually working with an expert in post-harvest processing. We've done some testing with them. They like the product so far, and we're going to be doing some testing in the field probably or early next year. So we will know fairly soon exactly what the benefit is, how often you need to apply it in different areas.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent question, Laura. Next up, we have Mary Shellman, jumping in with a question.
Right. Hey, Ted. I appreciated your presentation last year. I'm a chemical engineering by trade, by training, so I get into all that stuff. And I've also been through so many plants all over, and food safety is a constant issue and thinking about how to deal with that. So I just wanted to go back and I wanted to push you again on your go-to-market strategy, because I'm a little conflicted now. Because last year it was all about going out and working with processors and through the supply chain. Now we see these kind of retail bottles of products, and that's going D2C, no matter how you do it, that's really challenging, even if there is this big perceived need, maybe there's a gap. But I still think there's a huge opportunity, in the processing, the ready-to-eat space, all of these applications. So can you tell me more about, what kind of response you've been getting from the tests that you've been doing? Because, Zoe asked you a little bit, like, is there real value here? And I didn't quite get your answer to that as good as I would have liked.
All right, well, so first, don't hold against us that we had some nice graphic designers make a good-looking bottle for us. We can sell good-looking bottles to the industrial side as well. Okay. So really the strategy is to work through, it's too hard for us to go after all the different food processors that there are. Everybody has their own, whatever they're making, and their own needs and their own issues. So as I said, what we're looking at is working through people who do the service or the contracting for them. A lot of food safety is now being contracted out. So people come in and clean. And so the people that work for the company do the work of making whatever needs to be made, but the people that clean is a service. So that's the people that we're talking to. So I don't have as many fabulous examples. I have been through a plant where they were making meatballs and had meatball dust sprayed all over me. There are examples where that is incredibly important, but for the most part, the service providers that we're talking to have evaluated the product. The things that are important are longevity and essentially robustness. So you want to make sure that it stays available. And so we passed a lot of different testing for them that makes that important. And I'm out of time.
Yeah. Great job, Ted. Great job, Halomine. Thank you, judges.